Hey there. As always, this is for entertainment purposes only. Remember, I'm not a mental health counselor, a legal representative, a psychologist, anything that would give you legal or official advice, nor do I claim to be. So use your discernment and speak to professionals who can help you as you see fit. I'm merely sharing my story in the hopes that hearing my personal transformation journey will help you inspire and create your own. As I shared with you in the last video, the download about my mom changed how I thought about the universe, my relationship with God, and what religion meant to me. I really needed to dissect how I'd felt over the last 40 years, 50 years, well, at least 25. As I told you in the last video, I went back and forth between being a self-described atheist, as I didn't believe if there was a higher power, that it would be possible to put someone as good as my mom through multiple sclerosis and everything she went through as a result. And once in a while, I was just downright pissed about it on her behalf and yelled at the skies and whoever was running them. I guess sometimes I actually believed enough to cuss someone up there out. In a minute, that had completely disintegrated, and I needed to figure out exactly what this all meant for me, as I traditionally do, as you well know by now. I remember my mom. Well, I didn't think of her as religious necessarily. She always used to pray to angels when she lost something, when she was traveling, or even to look out for me. In so many cases, she was praying to angels. And as with many of the topics and beliefs throughout this journey, I went back to beginning to analyze exactly what it all meant to me and how my beliefs were formed. Throughout my early childhood, I knew my family was Catholic, but the religion we practiced, it didn't really resonate with me. There were a couple events that came to mind when I took a look at all of this. Growing up in Saudi Arabia, Islam was the only religion that was allowed to be practiced. That said, about once a year, if memory serves, someone would sneak a priest into the compound, kind of like the Underground Railroad, if you'll excuse the rough comparison. And we would end up having the priest at our house with everyone in the community attending that wanted to. When we came back from Saudi to spend the summers in the States, I remember that all of a sudden we were required to attend church on Sundays, when I didn't really feel like it, and we didn't really talk about it the rest of the year. And it felt like it was infringing on my beach time and fun time. It was summertime. And it seemed like bullshit to me, because I remember feeling like my parents felt like it's what they should do versus feeling what they wanted to do. Who knows? I can't speak for them. It just felt fake to me. And then in high school, I was going to a boarding school in the States while my family was still in Saudi. I say all that just to set the stage for the fact that all of a sudden I was about to turn 16 and was excited about getting my driver's license. I was informed at that point that I needed to go to confirmation classes and get confirmed before my parents would let me get my driver's license. Needless to say, I was super pissed about that. You guys know by now, I'm hard-headed and not a big fan of being told what to do, especially seeing I felt like I was being punished out of nowhere for the ridiculous classes. But I knew there was no getting around it. So I attended the classes, and because I'm stubborn, I decided I would literally make the classes a nightmare for the nun teaching them. If I was going to be there, I would make it difficult. I'm still probably getting karma for what I put that lovely nun through. I made it my business every single class to ask questions that were relevant to what we were learning each time, just to embarrass the shit out of her and make her uncomfortable. What did she wear under her habit? Did she miss sex? All sorts of other things every single time we went to class. The honest truth is she couldn't have been more lovely in her patience and her answers. And I think she made sure that I passed my confirmation classes and got confirmed quickly, just so we didn't have to have a redo of the experience, neither her nor I. I'm sure the poor nun probably doesn't look fondly back to those classes, but you could never tell by the way she treated me. And then throughout college and my professional years, I was always interested in learning new things from all angles. I'm curious. But I never subscribed to any religion. I just had the philosophy of be a good person, do good things, live by the golden rule. It just didn't seem overly complicated to me. That's how I lived my life. I had so many experiences with people who were self-proclaimed very religious, And by now, you know I'm a fan of you do you, boo. Like, just don't hurt others with your choices. So I was always a fan of hearing what they loved about it and about their religion and how they lived. But herein lies the rub. And before you jump on me, I'm sharing my experiences in my earlier years. I'm not saying that all religious people are like this, just the ones I encountered then. The vast majority of people who were super vocal about practicing religion were people who definitely didn't share the same foundational values as me. I had a super religious friend who was not going to sleep with anyone till she got married, but gave oral sex to nearly every man that she met. And that's not being dramatic. I met several preachers who were super popular, had a great congregation and following, and then they were cheating on their wives or doing things that come from a place of fear, of ego, of validation, who needed to be seen at what seemed like the cost of all other things, especially core values. And at the end of the day, I felt like it was like living a lie. Just live exactly how you are and who you are instead of faking stuff. I could share other examples, but in short, not really my cup of tea throughout my life. I thought it was completely ridiculous to be fake. And I always say, live how you want, but just don't be bullshit about it. Like, be transparent and be real. Be exactly who you are and live it. Live it proud. From my perspective, you just can't talk out of one side of your mouth about religion and then take daily actions that weren't very godly from my perspective. I'm not one to judge anything with a lifestyle, let me be super clear. Except, just don't be dishonest about it, or even yourself. To others. Don't be dishonest to others, or even yourself about it. Anyway, I digress. I'm someone who's super curious about learning, and I've always been someone who read to relax instead of watching, TV. In fact, I don't think I owned a TV for the last 15 years. I know, everyone thinks it's weird. Anyway, I love to read books, and still to this day, one of my favorite books is Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. I like to study different religions and philosophers and was consistently thinking in my head. And again, I'll cause a ruckus for saying this, but I really think the base of all religions in the world are just come down to boil it down, fundamental truths and core values about being a good person, doing good, being good. That's what everyone wants. And while I'm sure that oversimplifies religion, I've just never understood holy wars either. They seem to be the antithesis of what religion is, to me anyway, is supposed to be about. An oxymoron, if you will. Anyways, I'm sure we'll discuss that at a later date. My religion was just always me having my own understanding and growth about how to live and treat others. I never subscribed to one set of standards, rules, doctrines. I also attended different churches or congregations with friends just to check them out, not often, and supported my friends and loved them. One never really resonated more than the other. They always had good messages. They always had, really interesting things going on. I also enjoyed going to spiritual festivals and remember being in awe when mediums and tarot card readers would give me messages. And by the way, I always remained blank face on purpose, and I didn't tell them anything so I could test them to see if they knew what they were talking about. And some messages were incredibly accurate and just such a gift. And even though it freaked me out tremendously, one birthday I tried a past life reading with an expert. I'm not someone who likes to be out of control, and I had it in my head that somehow during the past life reading they would hypnotize me and I wouldn't be in control. By the way, the experience was pretty incredible, and I was always able to be cognizant of what's going on. As I dissected all of this, I realized that somewhere a piece of me always believed in something, or I wouldn't have had the interest to read or experience so much. I also remember a weird event that took place when my mom passed. I haven't shared this with anybody. I remember that I wasn't there when she passed, but my sister called me at the hotel and told me. I had returned to the hotel to get a little rest and take my dog for a walk in between hospital visits. When I went back to the hotel and was saying goodbye, and I think she had passed 30 minutes before, I'm not 100% sure because honestly, that time's a blur. I was looking at her body, and I saw above her body, kind of like a mini mom floating there, no bigger than, 2 hands, kicking her legs and all happy. Keep in mind she was quadriplegic, so it made me giggle to see her free of her body and all happy. I felt like I was losing my mind and hallucinating to be crying and then seeing this and giggling all at the same time. I didn't share it with anyone. Now I know more, and I remember the whole scenario with just some happiness and serenity. It was the perfect way to end my dissection. And throughout this analyzation, it just made me realize that besides being super pissed at God all these years, or God, Buddha, Allah, universe, whatever you want to call it, and refraining from having any relationship with the divine because of that, I really didn't live that differently throughout my life despite not believing. I'd still lived trying to help others, do good, be good, try not to hurt anybody, except my bouts of hard-headedness with some people. Now I felt like I could just allow myself to believe and explore some more of the spiritual stuff without restrictions. I didn't really need to pick a religion or a church or a temple. I just needed to explore my relationship with that deeper side of me, my relationship with whatever I want to call the divine. It felt like forgiveness after being mad for so many years, but actually it was probably understanding. I didn't really have anything to forgive. I just understood more about the universe now. And it allowed another piece of my little individual jigsaw puzzle to fall into place. I could explore this side of me without my ego, my brain, or my anger getting in the way now. Until next time, have a great week.